it going? So it turns out I recorded an entire video with really bad sound, and that would be a huge disaster. So I'm doing it again because I need practice in doing the technical bit, the creative bit, and this whole setup bit as well. So just a second. Yeah, so I feel like we need something went off there, but we need more of pop culture and climate science and people's resilient stories in our books, in our films, in our short films, in our just everything daily that we consume. I mean, memes have become really popular. Doomsday climate memes, right? But it's a bit too negative. And not, while everything seems to be falling apart, maybe it is not. Controversial statement, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I wanted to share a book that has inspired me, continues to inspire me, by this lady called Joy Harjo. The book is called Poet Warrior, and it's by this beautiful human being who's the poet laureate of the United. And I will read a little bit about her. See, Joy Harjo is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation. She's the author of 9 poetry collections, most recently in American Sunrise, and a previous memoir called Crazy Brave. She edited the anthologies When the Light of the World Had Subdued, Our Songs Came Through, and Living Nations, Living Birds. Named Poet Laureate of the US in 2019, she lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, pronunciation might be wrong, where she's a Tulsa Artist Fellow. I mean, that's just a very short introduction, but in essence, she has written this book with a lot of her life experiences when she was growing up. It's divided into about 6 parts, and yes, 6 parts. The 6 parts are ancestral roots, becoming, a post-colonial tale, diamond light, teachers, and finally sunset. It really speaks to your heart. This book is all about heart because, and here's the introduction, my favorite part. I'm going to read just like parts of it because obviously I don't want to get into like, spoilers, as well as everybody will make something out of it. So here's the introduction. For the poets, dreamers, visionaries, and risk takers who planted light in the field of darkness so we could rise up. For our children, great grandchildren, and all those who follow generation by generation in the story of becoming. For the water spider who, when the earth was covered with water, carried an ember on her back so we could make fire to keep the story going. And of course, for Owen Chuposka Sapulpa, who walks close to me in the story, who she has dedicated this book to. But yes, so I think it's a very relevant book for today's times, as pretty much everything is talking about, reimagining, redesigning the system and that narrative. But there's a specific theme in the book that really speaks to me, and it's a theme of girl warrior. So she calls herself the girl warrior, and there are specific poems in the book which are titled Girl Warrior, and it keeps coming back, the Girl Warrior poem. And wait, I want to read out one specific thing to you. It is about pine trees and is rather beautiful. Hold on. Okay, read this one. It's also a story which lays a lot of emphasis on the rite of passage, which is something that existed in all our ancient cultures, and especially the indigenous cultures. It's there in the Adivasi cultures, in India, in different parts of the world. But in the modern ways of living, we do not have that anymore, and I think that's one of the primary reasons why a lot of young people are really lost. and there is no guidance that is sort of given in terms of how to navigate life. And while it might seem it's there in a lot of like mainstream religious text, I really doubt the practice of it is sort of in the way that, you know, it was supposed to sort of embody the earth, the sky, the human life, the animal life, and the planet, in general. So, but here is something very unique. Girl warrior was becoming a woman. One day she was the sun. Another she was the moon. One day she hated everyone. The next day she was so overcome with beauty she could not stand it. She cried out to the old ones, who had promised her they would be there when she called. Where were they? She demanded. To no one there. They waited until she was dreaming. It was only then that she could hear them, because the electronic frequencies of stereo, television, and radio signals interfered as they zigzagged the wave of civilization. She dreamed of the path from the stars, how it shimmered with geometric forms and colors that gave nourishment and impetus for beauty. She dreamed of boys. Because she had no coming of age ceremony, they gave her one in spirit. This was her ceremony song. So yes, then there is a ceremony song, and like I said, the idea of coming of age, it's not just an idea, it's a reality in cultures which are now being subdued, and they are being asked to change their life because and the way they live, because it doesn't suit the modern world's needs and wants, right? So and this poem really resonated with me, especially Girl Warrior has different stanzas across the book, because this has been a lot, it speaks to me. It's so relatable that one day you wake up, you feel so ugly, one day you feel like you're the most beautiful person, and but there is no one to guide you through this. You're just sort of navigating, talking to each other, or in most cases not talking to anyone. And yes, there is some other stuff that I really want to read out. I found it. Girl Warrior began to notice she was different. When asked a question, even a simple question, maybe about a pine tree in memory, she could not respond in a straight line. She might see a pine tree, then a row of pine trees, then the history of pine trees, or from the point of view of a pine tree, or the dream of a pine tree far from the earth and the sky, all upon being asked the question. By then, she did not know how to respond. She was lost in an eternity of pine trees. Her instinct was to build in circles. When asked a question, she might lose the beginning and then the ending. She might have the start of a painting or a poem, but no easy yes or no response. Wow. I mean, this bit on her instinct was to build in circles. Where have we heard that? Almost never. Because when you build, you only think of something which is very masculine in nature. It's always vertical, it's erect, it's phallic in nature. But building in circles is a very different concept, and because circles are not looking for hierarchy, right? But there is still a structure. A circle is a structure of its own type. So building in circles is something that really spoke to me, and especially this bit on getting lost in pine trees, because you can zone out with about many things, right? When you're asked a question, but to actually dream in this way of like getting out of the planet and sort of like getting lost in nature is a joy of its own. And also she might lose the beginning and then the ending. We're not talking about Christopher Nolan here. We're talking about people's imaginations, and they are mostly never or usually not linear. So yeah, that's the kind of poems that exist in this book, along with her own life story and her growing up in different parts of North America, going through her own struggles. And but the main thing that stood out for me was constantly how this author is an inspiration. She's a mentor, and I feel we're living in a time when finding great mentors is hard, because the old style of mentorship, where you just like surrender yourself to one person or one thing, I call it old because I don't think it's relevant anymore. It's relevant in parts. You can still seek knowledge and information and styles from people who know more or who are older than you. But I'm really not sure that how all of it is relevant in today's times, and that's why I'm looking for more authors, more art, more people that inspire me. And of course, you need people who are mentors in your community. But for me, I think now I'm looking at more of peer to peer mentorship. So, learning from people who are in my generation or even younger, but definitely in mine, because I feel like we have grown up with certain transitions as millennials, but that's a whole different topic to speak about. But I do feel that artists, people who are looking at culture revolution and transformation through their art and through their ideas, are going to be more of a mentors than the traditional way of mentoring. And we will still find a lot of learning in our existing communities, but how do we draw and how do we receive that and give back is a very different, it can look very different, because times are changing very quickly, and what was relevant yesterday may not be relevant today. So yes, that's one of the things that spoke to me, and I'm sure you all carry some piece of art or book or quotes in your heart that speak to you. And yeah, I hope to cover more of this. It gives me joy, and it gives me joy to share this. So thank you for listening. Do subscribe if you like it. Bye.